Welcome back to another episode of This Week in Indies, where we sit down with a fantastic group of authors to discuss putting yourself out there. How do authors overcome stage fright? Are there special tricks to boost one's courage and confidence? How does one deal with trolls, bad reviews, and in-person haters? We'll discuss these challenges and more as we sit down with a fantastic group of authors at the round table. Then we hear from C.L. Cannon as she brings us a collection of spooky books similar to House of Hollow by Krystal Sutherland. Then we spend the last 5 minutes with Anita Stewart as she brings us a bit of poetry and planning. So sit down, relax, and grab a cup of coffee. Here's your host for this week, madilynndale. Hey everyone! Welcome back to another This Week in Indies. This is the first show of spooky season, which I've got my Book Witch reading shirt on today because it is officially time to binge read all those spooky books. Anyway, less about spooky season. Today's show, we're going to be talking about putting yourself out there. We've got some fantastic authors on board today to chat with. But before we dive in, and you guys can quit listening to my chatter, I want to talk about what's coming up this week with Go Into Now. Tomorrow, we have an awesome episode coming out of Progress with Julia Allen. Her guest this week is Catherine Sweet, and they're going to be discussing fanfic to published fic tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern. And also this week, we have main reviews coming back on Tuesday evening and Character Driven with me on Wednesday. So make sure you like and subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notifications for when our shows are. But enough of that. Let's bring in these fantastic authors for you guys to meet. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I hope you're as excited for spooky season as I am. I love this season. I haven't decorated yet, but that's on the agenda for today. Right, guys, we're going to go around and let you introduce yourself. Sorry, I had too much coffee this morning. We're going to start with you, David.
Hello, I'm David Green. It's my first time back on this season since it's restarted again, so happy to be here. I am in Galway in Ireland, so it's nearly evening time for me now, so the morning was ages ago. And I am the author of the dark fantasy series Empire of Ruin, which is these 2 books so far, In Shadow and Path of War, and also for spooky season, urban fantasy noir The Devil Walks in Blood, which is first 2 books of the Hell in Haven series, which is like urban fantasy and supernatural and all this good stuff. So that's that as well.
Sweet. Miss Anita.
Hi, I'm Anita Stewart. I write under A.S. Stewart, horror, dark fantasy, poetry. I also host 2 podcasts, Between the Pages Book Chats and Words That Kill for Go Indie Now. And my spooky season starts on October 10th because that's when our October Frights blog hop begins. And we have 8 or 9 authors signed up, and they will be giving you stories, frights, giveaways, all sorts of good stuff.
Sweet. And new to the show, Mr. Ben.
Yes, my name's Benjamin Rose. I write under Ben Rose. I'm a young adult author of 2 novels published by Breaking Rules Publishing, formerly Breaking Rules, now called Someday a Creative Collection. This is one of them, Everybody But Us. It is my debut novel. And the other one is The Long Game, and that's my second novel. As I said, both of them are young adult, and both of them deal in realism and have absolutely nothing to do with fantasy in any way, shape, or form. Thank you.
And then Courtney.
Hi guys, Courtney Cannon, aka CL Cannon. I do a lot of things here on Go Indie now, including the Indie Connection and the monthly marketing tip. But I'm also sometimes a YA author. I write a lot of YA fantasy and sci-fi. I also own Fiction Atlas Press, and we have this anthology we just did for charity. And then I also was just in Ink and Incantation, which is a completely YA anthology. That was a lot of fun to write, and I'm happy to be here today to talk about spooky season and other stuff.
Yes. So, guys, my first question for you all what was the biggest struggle of putting yourself out there as an author? I know we all started from somewhere. So, what was your biggest, I guess, fear?
That nobody would read the books.
Yeah, the people would read the books and hate them as well.
That's a good one.
So
I was sorry.
You're good.
I was really scared the first time I was on any sort of show like this. And this show was one of the first ones I was ever on way back in like 2015, 2016 with Joe when he first started. And it was like, I couldn't answer anything. My personality wouldn't come out because I was just like kind of clammed up. I didn't know anybody. And I was like, I'm nothing. Why are these people even watching me? So getting over like that imposter syndrome and being able to talk and be more confident is like something that you acquire with time, I think.
I agree. It does come with time. Ben?
And my biggest fear, other than the imposter syndrome, which I guess most people have, is that when I first tried publishing Everybody But Us, it was accepted by a publisher. And then I came to find out that said publisher was also connected in various ways to an industry that, because I'm young adult, I couldn't have any connection with that. So then with that heartbreak, I got picked up by another publisher and found out that there's a lot of politics involved. They ended up ghosting me. They ended up doing a lot of shady things to some people I know. And I couldn't deal with it. And I thought that was the end of it. Really scared that I was never going to be able to get this. And the guy recommended Breaking Rules at that time now, Someday of Publishing, or a creative collection. And I said, okay, what the heck, I'll give them a try. And I did, and they liked my work. So they published Everybody But Us, and in short order, published The Long Game. And it's been an okay deal so far. So I guess my fears were unfounded with them anyway. Thanks.
We have a couple of comments in the chat. We've got David breaking the fourth wall this morning. Or I guess technically it's like afternoon where you're at, right?
It's like early evening. Let's say that.
And we have A.L. Mingle. I hope I pronounced your last name right. I apologize if I didn't. This is good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone, which is definitely fitting because we're all in different time zones. So, but the fear of like putting yourself out there, I think everybody in some way definitely deals with that. It's a whole different thing to write your story and share it with someone close to you versus putting it out there in the real world. How do you guys deal with negative reviews? Like, I know we've probably all got at least one. So, and we've got a couple of other people joining too, which you guys in the chat, feel free to ask questions. There's JD. And AL says, for my first novel, I had to overcome the fear of rejection and seed of doubt, which I planted myself, wondering if I was a good enough writer to publish. It's part of the journey we all take.
Very true.
Yeah. So, but back to the whole review thing, guys.
Well,
go on. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say most of my negative reviews are less bad than what I actually think my own work is like. So it really doesn't bother me too much because I'm very critical of my own stuff. So the negative reviews are actually more positive than what I would have reviewed it as. So
I've only got I've only had a few 1-star reviews, and most of them have been just like I've just laughed at them because they're just so they're not really about the work. They're about someone's just, you know, one of them. I had one. I think I got 3 1-star reviews, and one of them was from a publisher that I turned down. And they put a 1-star review on one of my books, and one of them was from someone that said, "I don't like fantasy," and it was like, well, great, that's fantastic. Thanks for reading this fantasy book and letting everyone know it's fantasy. And then I had another one which was from someone who went on this big rant about female characters in fantasy and people writing about female characters and having female characters as the main characters. And he was not a fan of them, and he was not a fan of the fact that I'd written a book with female characters as the main protagonists. And it was such a vitriolic review that before I could actually take the quotes of it, because I was going to do like an advertising campaign saying like David Green is a woke libtard and stuff like this, and whatever else that was in this review, it was Amazon removed it, which was the only time I never wanted Amazon to remove a review because it was fantastic. So those ones, a lot of them, the 1-star ones, it's just someone's got some kind of bee in the bonnet and they just want to, or an axe to grind, and they just want to kind of get their opinion out there. Some of the other ones, like the 3-star reviews are always the ones that I kind of look at the most. Like, it's great to get 5 and 4-star ones, but when you kind of get some of the 3-star ones, you can get some really good. You can't be precious about your work. I mean, you want to always try and improve each book on the last one, I think, and improve your craft. So I think, you know, when you get those ones that are like, you know, quite balanced and there's some things that you liked and some things that you didn't like, you kind of just have to accept it and just see. And you might not agree with it. You know, it might be something that you think, well, yeah, I don't really agree with that. But it might be something that when you reflect on it, you do. I think the worst reviews are the ones where you just get a score, like some stars and there's nothing written, and you're like, oh. You know, because you kind of, like, if you get like 2 or 3 stars or something, you kind of want to know why, because it can be helpful.
Yeah, I hate it when you get 1-star and 2-star reviews and no written review to go with it. It's like, okay, did you read the book even? What?
For real.
I kind of agree with David. It kind of depends on the review, because some reviews can be very helpful and very insightful into going, oh, why did I do that? Or I missed something. Like one of my 1-star reviews was about one of my vampire short stories. And there was somewhere where me and the editor had both missed that someone's arm was in a different position. And so I had to go back and change that. So they can be good and they can be bad. Sometimes they're not even anything you've done. They're like, oh, I couldn't download this book, or this book came with like a printing error or something like that. And it's not really about you and your work. It's just user error or printing error. And like, use the good reviews, use the ones that have the good information in them, and kind of ignore the rest, because as every piece of art, everything is subjective. Not everybody's going to like your story, and you just kind of have to accept that.
Yeah. The formatting was always frustrating. Go ahead, Ben.
When it comes to the reviews, I got a little scared at first before I got my reviews on Everybody But Us, because both my novels are based on people that I've known. They're not really based on, they're inspired by the stories of people I've met, people I've known. And in the case of Everybody But Us, I'm a cisgendered heterosexual male who was writing a book about 2 bisexual teenage females. And obviously I'm not teenage, I'm way middle-aged. And other than the homeless aspect and the alcoholism addiction aspect, which I definitely know, I was a little afraid that people weren't going to accept that a cisgendered heterosexual male, middle-aged, was able to write this. But man, some of those reviews are telling me that I not only nailed it, but that I've changed some lives. And with the long game, I just didn't know how people were going to react to the story at all, because it's a pretty intense story, and it's a pretty intense subject. Well, many subjects that I deal with, and it's written from the point of view of someone who, although it's not explicitly stated, he's high functioning on the spectrum, and he speaks with absolute hipster patois, and I wasn't sure how people were going to react to that. And for the most part, people reacted to it and think it's pretty cool. Man, they like it. So I put myself out there, thought that the reviews might not be so good. Turns out the reviews are actually pretty darn positive. I've had 1 2-star where someone read one of my novels only a little bit, and then they said, well, I didn't finish this because I really didn't like the subject matter at all. And I'm like, I pretty much make it clear what the subject matter is, so I didn't understand why they would even leave a review if they didn't bother reading it, but whatever. Thanks.
Yeah, that was insane. But that's good that it came out positive, because a lot of the time, like, it doesn't. So, and we've got a lot of questions over here. Comments. Where did I stop? For putting ourselves out there, sometimes got to band-aid it and rip it off and do it. That's what JD says. And then Joe has a question. What has been the best thing that has happened to you when you took a risk and put yourself out there?
Well, actually, doing the video stuff is the best thing that happened when I took a risk, because in real life, I'm very shy about getting up and speaking in front of people. So I didn't know whether the video stuff would work at all. But apparently, when I do video, none of that happens. So I don't know why I am not afraid of video as opposed to speaking in front of real people. But there you go. So that actually did the first time I did video was for the Brain to Books convention, which actually does lead into Go Indie Now. So Go Indie Now is part of that. So
I would say it's the networking and getting to know other people, especially a lot of the people here on Go Indie Now, like Joe and Anita and JD and David and everyone, and being able to make those connections. Because if you didn't put yourself out there and try to network, you would have never met these awesome people who become such a good, like, positive part of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, as Joe would like us to say, getting on to Go Indie Now is obviously the best thing about it all. But I mean, one of my things that I'm really kind of grateful for was getting out to doing conventions and stuff, because like not only is it a great experience, and you know we get to kind of meet readers and meet other writers. I realized there's lots of other kind of neurodiverse writers like me, and it kind of helps me kind of get like a little kind of group together where I actually felt like quite accepted, which has been like something that is unusual in life. So that's been good, and that's all just because of like, you know, coming out and kind of talking about like my work and my background and stuff like that. So I would not have done that otherwise if it wasn't for getting yourself out there.
I would say that the absolute best thing that's happened is that I had one reviewer on Goodreads who literally came out and said that he was a very biased, very right-wing kind of guy who, I'm not going to discuss politics in this forum, but you can figure it out. He was extremely right-wing, extremely conservative, and he said he read my books, and they not only made sense to him. He not only liked them, but he literally changed his political views based on my writing, which really, I mean, that just stunned me. And the second best thing I would think would be that I actually got a fan letter from a young adult in Iowa. I could not respond to it. I did not feel comfortable at all. But she said that she had heard about my book through some friends of hers and had seen it written up online. So she decided to read it, told a bunch of friends of hers they should read it. They all got together and read it. And I actually had to ask someone what the word fangirl meant, because they started fangirling over the main character in the long game. And I didn't even know what that meant. But once I found out, I was like, wow, okay, that's pretty impressive. Thanks.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We've got a couple more comments before we get to the next question. JD says, I got a 1-star review that was actually kind of positive, and I was like, so why 1? LOL. And I think this was Joe's response to the question we were addressing, which we all kind of touched on, which I have to say, I feel like my interviewing stuff blossomed after being on Joe's show. So, book was good, 3 stars. Another reason to dislike Goodreads. You don't have to give a review, just stars, which is true. Amazon is the same, Joe, I think. That's awesome, Ben. There's an audience for everything. Cheers. Not everyone will connect with my story or characters the way I did while writing it. And in my opinion, the 1 and 2 star reviews give added validity to the 4 and 5 star reviews. Ben getting beautiful reviews like Erling Haaland scores goals. Right, David? He promised this will be my only one, maybe. You guys and your sports stuff. Without touring, I've built my audience and increased my sales significantly. I make it a specific part of my marketing plan now. Oh man, you guys have a lot of comments over here. Agreed, Mr. Mingle. You are a rock star at that. Thank you both. I am doing an event on Saturday. Okay, let's go to back up. Sorry, guys. There's a ton. There's a ton of questions, comments. I think JD's question was the next one. It says, what countries are you read in that have surprised you?
Well, someone from India bought my book
Mm.
and reviewed it nicely too, which surprised me. But what I'm glad.
I think that one's one of my most interesting countries that it's been bought into, to be honest.
I'm just surprised anyone from any country buys any of my books. So.
I don't really keep track. I mean, I should. That's probably part of the marketing, but I just don't really keep track of who. I'm just glad, like David, that people read it. So
I'm a little surprised that I'm read in India, but also that I actually got reviews in German from someone in Germany, and they actually wrote the review in German. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
I think India, I think, is quite a big market for ebook sales in general.
Yeah, it's. I had a book go kind of crazy in India, honestly, but it was an arranged marriage kind of thing. So, and I know they do a lot of arranged marriage stuff still. And let's see where we stopped off in our comments. JD and Joe and AL are going crazy in the comments, guys. So, quite a few people know about me because of what I post about mom or do to support PR and other causes, talking about how he is doing the event with the Alzheimer's awareness. Oh, I'm getting tongue-tied, guys. And with other topics besides buy my book in order to make a connection, which is really good. That's actually a pretty good topic of connection with people. So, and they're just kind of having a crazy chat now. Here's our next question for us, guys. Conventions are great, though. No guarantee you'll get the sales. Have you ever had a bust? And if so, what'd you do? That's a fun one. And I actually have an experience. My first book signing was a total bust. So, yeah. I had one person show up, and the only person because they showed up was because they were dropping off more books, was another fellow author. So, yeah, guys. Any experiences there?
I've only been to one, but I'm going to one in person, and I've done some virtual ones. But my first one that I went in person was a complete bust. It was mostly just a local Comic-Con sort of thing, and I sold maybe 5 books the whole day. But I went with my sister, and we just had lots of fun. We went around, we'd make her husband go to my booth, and then we go around and get fan pictures made and stuff like that, and shop. So we spent more money on that probably than anything. So we just made a fun day out of it, and lesson learned. That's probably not a place where I'm going to do good with my books, and I need to find something I need to research more and find a convention that would be more profitable for my kind of books.
Agreed. And then AL adds, sorry, I'm going to pause this for a second, have found that conventions have a lot of overhead, but they are great for networking and promoting.
Yeah, but I've not plucked up the courage to get my own table at a convention yet. For that reason, I'm mainly I've kind of looked at it, and I've seen a lot of people that do super well on them tend to have completed series, at least one completed series. So people might want to buy the whole set when they're there. And if you've only got a couple of books or maybe one book in a series, it's a bit of a harder sell. So I know a few other authors that are there, and they always just leave a few books on my table. So I always just bring a few and just leave them on the table. And I just do the whole kind of promoting and networking, going on panels, which are always loads of fun. Drinking at the bar, which is always really, really fun as well. But the ones in the UK, man, I've not been to one in Ireland yet, because I think there's only 2 in Ireland that I know of, and they're both kind of not at the end of the year. The ones in the UK are so much smaller than the American ones, because I was talking to someone recently, and they were like, "Oh, how many people are going to this convention?" I went to one in September, and I was like, "Oh, it's the biggest fantasy convention in the UK, and it's probably going to have about 1,000 people at it, right?" Whereas they had just been to one in Denver, which was about 100,000 people for the entire weekend. So it's a completely different kind of scale. So it's you really kind of have to put that if you go into one in the UK or something, you really have to kind of take that into consideration. It's never going to be crazy.
I think I'd take the not crazy. So the smaller numbers.
I haven't done very many. I did a small steampunk one where I sold a couple of books, a group book signing where I sold a few books, and I did a workshop at our local Halcon convention. I didn't have a table or anything, but that went quite well. So that's about the extent of my in-person stuff so far.
I would say the only bust I've really had was on Twitter. I tried to get in to some of the mentorship programs, and it was repeatedly a no sale. But I came to realize, and in fact, in one of my works in progress, I mention it, that that's kind of like being accepted at the cool kids table in high school or junior high. I wasn't accepted then. I'm not accepted now. And I guess I'm just not cool enough for these people that are mentoring. I guess I'm just not good enough for them. And that's all right, because I have to write what I write, and I have to write what I know. And I can't write schlock, and I can't write, boilerplate. And I just can't do what it is that they seem to want. So I don't know. The only other thing about busts that I know is that I've been told by some people, not necessarily in reviews, but otherwise, that I described the subject well. Anyway, enough of that.
And JD says, "Hey, you take the wins you can." Gotta go through a couple more comments. We did that one already. I know JD is really good at Comic-Cons. I like to network at them. I had my best show in PR and then a bust less than 2 months later here in Atlanta. But one person actually attended the event to get my book, which kind of blew me away. And then our next question, if I can scroll back up and find it, you guys are keeping the chat busy, which is what I like to see. Which I have to say, I have not had a in-person con yet. I'm going to my very first con, but not as a bookseller. So just to kind of see what it's like. Conventions are great, though. Oh, that's where we just answered that question. Sorry about that, guys. Finding all of y'all's questions in here. Whoa. I will be going to a whole new country to track one of my favorite poets and get him to sign more stuff for me. Hint, hint, he's in this chat. Yes, I know I will see him in a couple weeks, too. Oh, online, I don't think I'll ever do a takeover on Facebook. 3 times and always came out of it with a negative experience. Cut into my time, cut short, no promotion, and was a lot of effort and little return, which I guess, too, like, in-person versus, like, online stuff, I guess because I've never done, like, an in-person thing. I've always had better kind of results with online stuff. Have you guys found one?
Yeah, there's some it really depends. Like, it can be very hit and miss. Like, you have to really kind of vet it in a way when you get kind of invited to these kind of things, because you can get I've done some takeovers and events that have been really, really good, and you get, like, you know, a lot of kind of you get a lot of exposure from them, and you get a lot of, and you pick up new readers as well, which is like the important thing. But then I've seen some which, like, some groups do that, they do just exclusively that, and it's like an echo chamber, and you don't really get anything, to the point where, like, there's a particular group that I've just stopped doing it with now, because it's just the same. Whenever you have anything kind of on a giveaway or something, it just seems to be the same names that are always on there, and it's like, and you don't get any kind of interaction with them. So it makes me wonder if they're actually real people or not, which I have heard about, that there's some groups that kind of do that they populate them all with fake profiles and stuff. So yeah, it can be hit and miss, but there's someone in this chat that I know that does very, very good takeovers. 2 people in this chat actually that I know that does a very good takeovers. So yeah, you have to kind of really kind of do your research on them, because as JD says, some of them are just a complete time sink, but some of them can be quite rewarding.
Yeah, I've done a couple of online conventions, like the Brain to Books ones I mentioned, that they're no longer doing it, but when they were quite good. But recently I'm part of the CornCon online convention, which is a lot of fun. It's basically video panels, workshops, and things like that. It's run by Virginia McLean and a few other people, and it's very well done and a lot of fun. And our fantasy bake-off was a hoot last year. And I also recently participated in the Author Tube Writing Conference, which was really good, because I did a steampunk panel for that one. And the views went through the roof for it. So I'm really satisfied with that one.
Sweet. And we might also, I have a question in the chat. Not everybody knows what is a takeover event. So a lot of us referring to this is a Facebook related thing, which I know several of us have Facebook groups that are in this group right now. And we basically, like, for release days or special events or anything, you get to go and you have a time slot where you just take over the group for yourself and talk about your work, the person's new release, play games, chat with all the people there that are showing up. And sometimes it can get a little crazy out of hand, and your hour slot turns into, like, days later, but it's still a lot of fun. So
I did a takeover event on Facebook and on Twitter, and for the person who said that they will never do it again because it was pretty much a waste of their time and always turned out negative, all I can say is amen and hallelujah.
yeah,
it's probably the same group that we were talking about. I heard Maddie laughing when I was saying it. She knows who I'm talking about.
I do. Yes, because you do have those people that are just like, oh, hey, I want one of your free books. Like, I'll put my hand up and get your free book, and then you go to send them, hey, send me your email, and you're like, okay, I've already sent this book to you before. And it's like, wait.
Yeah, right, lots of times, and also,
Yes.
I don't think you exist.
Yes. And we've got any soggy bottoms, Anita, from JD.
I don't understand that question at all.
And he mentioned earlier, YouTube have always been great noise, which I've never done one on YouTube. So Anita, agree on that. Convention and had you over as well, which is always a smile boost. Okay. Thank you for explaining. You're welcome. Like, a lot of people don't know what takeovers are. So, and then, by the way, got a jet, but 2 more questions. Okay, JD, which social media platforms have been best for your platform? Which brings up another kind of curiosity, because some of you guys have done takeovers on YouTube, and some of you guys, like Ben, you said you did a takeover on Twitter. Let's talk about the differences between those. That kind of goes into the social media platform, what works best. So
Facebook and Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Well, early career Twitter was the one for me. These days, I'm finding YouTube works better.
Mm-hmm.
Mine fluctuates. I really like Facebook, but have to go where your audience is. And with young adult right now, it's on TikTok. So TikTok, it was Instagram, and then it's went to TikTok, and kind of it's floundering in between both of those. But TikTok's really hit big, so that's where I'm trying to concentrate most of my efforts. But I also have to say just one little thing about takeovers on Facebook. I love those. I really love organizing them. I don't really do many where other authors like ask me to, because it really depends. It has to be really well organized, and it has to be something that's engaging for the audience. So some of the things that I do, and what I'm getting ready to do again here in a little while, I'll send out invites soon, is I do a 10 days of Halloween countdown. And then on the last 2 days, we do a Halloween takeover party. And then I Photoshop people and like my guests who are going to be taking over into like costumes that they choose. Like, they're really bad Photoshops, which makes it even funnier. So we do lots of fun stuff like that. And doing the fun stuff makes it fun for the authors, and it makes it fun for the readers, and you get more engagement. So it's not just like, here's some stuff about my book. Here's some more stuff about my book. Here's like a game that I got off of Google or something. It takes a lot more effort, but the results are usually very well. And I've gotten some of my lifelong readers from those sort of interactions. And I have authors that contact me every year going, hey, are you going to be doing that takeover again this year? Can I be invited? So it's about how much you hype it and how much you put into it, and how we'll organize something as to on any platform on which will tell you how effective it's going to be.
Agreed. The interaction is huge, makes a huge difference. So anybody else want to add?
Yeah, my one is the newsletter, probably. Like, Facebook has been good and TikTok has been good and everything, but as Courtney was saying, it can kind of change in a little bit, and my brain isn't too quick to react to things that change. I need someone just to basically like do this now and look after me that way. But the newsletter is something that's kind of always constant, and you can kind of curate it and bring people to it, so that one's one that works out quite well for me. TikTok is it's great, but like that I see that JD asked another question about how the split time between writing and promotion, and I think you can just put so much time into TikTok, and I think it pays off for people that do, but I think you have to put a lot of time into it, or at least have like a routine where you kind of have everything scheduled and ready to go, our videos made and your drafts that you can keep sending out regularly and everything like that. And I just can't do it. I need to, because it is so important these days.
Yeah, it is hard to split time. And like Ale says, Facebook has been the best for me for social media. However, lately I've been focusing on search engines. That's an interesting thing.
Good job.
Yeah, Facebook, I don't know, Instagram comes and goes. I kind of quit using TikTok for a little bit after I had some books returned. After that whole big blow up over, you can return your books, but they've come out with that new policy, which was talked about last week on the show. Yeah. So, but how do you split time with writing and promotion?
You sacrifice one or the other.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, I don't want to write now, I'll do promotion. Don't want to promote now, I'll do writing. That's basically my philosophy.
Mine's kind of whenever I can squeeze it in, I squeeze it in, because like writing is when I get free time, when I'm not doing something like cleaning, taking care of my son, running errands, etc. It's like, let me just write a little bit out of my phone.
Okay, Joe, I'll invite you this year. Okay.
Yes.
You're supposed to be writing fantasies, mostly fantasy and sci-fi authors. But I will invite you.
It sounds like a fun takeover. So, yeah.
It's fun.
Well, let's take a pause break. We've got a great little thing for everybody to check out from C.L. Cannon. So here is this week's Indie Connection.
Hey guys, C.L. Cannon here from Fiction Atlas Press, bringing you another Indie Connection. Today I'd like to tell you about some indie books that you might enjoy if you're a fan of House of Hollow by Krystal Sutherland. The first book I have for you is called Blue Shadows Fall by Lenore Stutznegger. They wear the faces of your loved ones, but are more beautiful than you could ever imagine. Lovely things shouldn't draw you in and kill you. You almost want them to. 17-year-old Blue Haven, gifted with superhuman sight since birth, dreams of becoming a warrior. Not that anything's happened near the wall since Old Man Amos was attacked by that beaver. The Shadow Elves, humans infected by a zombie apocalypse-like plague, had died out over the past 150 years, leaving life altogether boring. In her quiet farming village nestled in the shadows of the Smoky Mountains, warriors are no more than a formality. But Blue's unique sight is beginning to show her some troubling things. A suspicious green-eyed outsider. A strikingly beautiful shadow elf. These visions can't be real, because if they are, that means everyone's been wrong. Dead wrong. They are not the last survivors in the world, and they aren't prepared for the reality Blue's eyes are showing her. The second book I have for you is called Wandering Souls by Angela Van Lampt. In the coastal town of Atlas Cliffs, 17-year-old Drew Harlow has a secret. She can see the dead. She's always seen them, and they've always left her alone, until now. Drew's final year of high school should have been fun. It should have been carefree. It would have, if not for the accident that took the life of her boyfriend, Shane. Now it's all she can do to keep her head above water. But Drew can't shake the feeling that something was missed. Move forward. Let go. There's no way Shane could have survived. That's what her best friend Piper keeps telling her. Except if Drew can see the dead, why can't she see Shane? Drew embarks on a mission to uncover the secrets of Neptune Point, the scene of Shane's accident. As she digs into the mystery, she exposes unexpected darkness that has been buried for too long. But someone doesn't want the truth to come out, and they will protect it at all costs, even if that means silencing Drew. She cannot turn back now. Choosing to ignore what is in front of her is no longer an option. The third book I have for you is called Changeling by Matt Wesolowski. A missing child, a family in denial, 6 witnesses, 6 stories. Which one is true? On Christmas Eve in 1988, 7-year-old Alfie Marsden vanished in the dark Wentshire forest past when his father Sorrel stopped the car to investigate a mysterious knocking sound. No trace of the child nor his remains have ever been found. Alfie Marsden was declared officially dead in 1995. Elusive online journalist Scott King, whose 6 Stories podcasts have become an internet sensation, investigates the disappearance, interviewing 6 witnesses, including Sorrel and his ex-partner, to try to find out what really happened that fateful night. Journeying through the trees of the Wentshire Forest, a place synonymous with strange sightings, and tales of hidden folk who dwell there. He talks to a company that tried and failed to build a development in the forest, and a psychic who claims to know what happened to the little boy. The last book I have for you is called Bones of the Faerie by Janni Lee Simner. The war between humanity and Faerie devastated both sides, or so 15-year-old Liza has been told. Nothing has ever been seen or heard from the Faeries since, and Liza's world bears the scars of its encounter with magic. Corn resists being harvested, dandelions have thorns. Trees move with sinister intention, and the town Liza calls home is surrounded by a forest that threatens to harm all those who wander into it. Still, Liza feels safe. Her father is strong and has protected their town by laying down strict rules. Among them, any trace of magic must be destroyed, no matter where it is found. Then, Liza's sister is born with fairy pale hair, clear as glass, and Liza's father leaves the baby on a hillside to die. When her mother disappears into the forest, and Liza herself discovers she has the fairy ability to see, into the past, into the future. She has no choice but to flee. Liza's quest will take her into Faerie and back again, and what she finds along the way may be the key to healing both worlds. Okay, that's all for me this week. I'll see you next week on the Indie Connection. Bye!
Add to cart. All of those. Just add them, guys. That's what I'm doing. You're sitting here like, okay, do I have that book? Love books that fit spooky season. So I'm going to take us back to putting yourself out there, guys. I know we've kind of gone a little crazy off path with everything. What were some of the things you utilized to help get past your fears, to boost your courage and confidence, to talk with others about your books and anything related to that?
This show, being on this show and being forced to talk about it, that's pretty much how it went. Then going to takeovers, and eventually you just give more and more of yourself until it becomes more comfortable. It's never completely comfortable, for me anyways, because I'm an introvert. But once you get to know people and get to tell them about your book and get them excited about your book, and then you can fangirl over stuff with them, then it becomes fun again and it gets easier.
Yeah, I mean, I just went and did it. I mean, I was nervous. I was scared for a lot of stuff, but I just said, no, can't give in to the fear. Just go and do it. Just do it. And so, like Courtney said, it does get easier the more you do it. So.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice as well because, talking to other, especially in situations like this, when you're talking to other authors, especially ones that are more experienced than you are, you can learn a lot from them, and and it's always really welcoming. There's not very often that I've seen in the couple of years that I've been kind of writing and doing this the way where I've come across authors that are quite hostile or quite close you down and stuff and other things like that. So the fact that it's quite a welcoming group of people is always really, really helpful. And it's the realization as well that unless you've got tons of money to spend on advertising on Amazon, on Facebook, and all this kind of stuff, that getting yourself, and even if you have, getting yourself out there is as much as is important. Because a lot of readers want to kind of connect with the writer as well. It's not just about the work; it's about the writer as well. So if you're not doing it, then you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot a little bit. So it is, as Courtney said, you never really kind of get completely used to it or comfortable with it. And I don't think I'll ever get comfortable with anyone talking about praise about any of my books, because it's just not who I am today. Would be yes, I agree with what you're saying or anything like that. I kind of just be just stop talking. But you can't do that either, because you don't want to be there going, yeah, they're all right. They're not. They're okay. At best. So there's a lot of things that you have to kind of get used to, or just kind of push to the side where it is useful. And the most important thing I think for a writer is to find other people that are writers as well, and because they've been through it all as well. They know what they can help you and advise you and listen to you vent about something sometimes that they would know completely what you're going through.
Yeah.
I don't find it really difficult to talk about my books with people. The difficult part comes when people start asking me about the people behind the characters, and I can in a general way describe them, but I've had a few people who have said to me, oh, could you put me in touch with, and that's absolutely out of bounds. I make it clear up front in the books that part of the agreement is that I never out who these people are, because in some cases they really don't want people to know, because they're grown, they're professionals, and they're working in industries that they really don't want people to know about their past. And in other cases, they're just, okay, you can write about my life, but just don't tell anyone who I am. It's the basis of anonymity, and I have to accept it.
Yeah, and that's actually really true, especially with some of the stories that people create. You don't want to give the person's real identity away, because somebody could take that and actually turn it into something bad. So, yeah. And we've got a couple comments. So I have an unpublished 6-book fantasy series. Not allowed to say when book 1 will be out yet. It's a fragile announcement. Hint, hint, that might be the title. I think we are all waiting for that, Joe. So you better get on it. Can I just say, you invested the time, you made it the best you can, and that gives you all the right in the world to agree that it's great, because isn't that what you are aiming for? I think that's talking about our books. So, and then for me, I practiced by making short videos on my page where I discussed my books. It has helped me a great deal discussing my writing and how to make it interesting and build the elevator pitch. Ooh, that's a good method. Have any of you guys done something like that?
I've not done a video, but I was talking to someone at a convention recently that who works for one of the big 4 publishers, and they were just saying, like, really kind of work on a really quick kind of pitch, which is basically like popular things, what it would be. So, because I was talking to her about a series that I'm going to be working on soon. I was kind of explaining what it is. And she was like, okay, so you'd just say, you'd be like, Agatha Christie meets Discworld meets Game of Thrones. And that's what you just say. And she was just like, just do that with all of your work whenever you're talking to people, just something that's nice and clean and easy that you can get across very, very quickly.
Yes, and just as I was talking about what David was saying and having a hard time accepting praise. So, which I have to admit, David's books are actually really good, guys, if you haven't read them. I'm still in the process of book 2 in the midst of my crazy up and down chaotic readings way. So, yeah.
Thanks very much. See, that's what I do now. I just say thanks.
Good practice right here. And I've got everybody's, like, I'm working my way through everybody slowly, because I mentioned on the show recently, I don't read near as fast as I used to. Life as a parent, you get sidetracked a lot. So, and the pitch for Mona Lisa becoming a ghost, Mona Lisa meets Frankenstein with a touch of taxidermy. Ooh, that's a memorable description. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like something Anita would come up with for her horror series. So, yeah. So anything else you guys want to add to, like, tips to put yourself out there?
Just be yourself. I mean, don't try and put on a persona or be fake, or just be yourself, and try not to be nervous. Although that's saying that's a lot harder than doing it. But yeah.
And if you do say something stupid, everybody's going to forget it by tomorrow or the next day, so don't worry about it so much. Because I've said so many stupid and awkward things in real life and on these videos, and they're immortalized, but hopefully nobody goes back and sees those moments.
Well,
I agree with what's been said. As far as videos go, I have a hard enough time signing up for this. I'm not particularly photogenic. I don't think I have a world-class voice. I mean, as a writer, I have a good voice. I'm told so, and I believe it. But as a human being, my voice isn't great. I'm not photogenic. I have a really hard time with video, but at the same time, I wanted to do this. I wanted to do one of these for a while, so I signed up, and I figured, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, it's true. You were putting yourself out there by putting yourself in this show with us, so, and we appreciate having you.
I have to say as well that there's the Courtney's builders that she does are a great way of getting you out there. Not only because of the book, but also, I mean, I did one recently, and I put my Facebook reader group on there, and like I gained like about 100 people within the space of a few days, like so. And they're really active people, and they interact with the group as well. So yeah, it's always worth it. Like to talk about before, if you kind of look at these things and kind of do research, but if anyone is thinking about using any of Courtney's builders, I would recommend them.
I absolutely do too, because I've used a lot of your builders since the start of my author career, and it's helped a lot. I've even learned a lot by signing up for them.
Yeah, I just did her horror one, and I still have to input all the
we got really good results with that one. I was really happy with that.
Yeah, I still have to input all the subscribers to my newsletter, so that should be fun.
And you do have to do a lot of research, because I think I found your stuff by researching, because it was before I got hooked up with like doing interviews and being on the show and stuff. So researching is the key to putting yourself out there too, guys, because you have to find ways to put yourself out there, and it's hard. So yeah. And we've got some comments. I have read only blurbs, but in talking to the man, I know David is awesome, especially for a United fan. And I am looking forward to reading his books and experiencing that awesomeness.
Well,
yes.
Thank you very much. As a United fan, it makes me very happy.
But putting yourself out there is definitely hard, guys. And I feel like we've all taken a step in somehow just by publishing our book and writing that book. You're putting yourself out there for others to read it, to critique it, to say, oh, I don't like this. Oh, I do like this. Kind of maybe boost your confidence with good reviews, or be like, oh, I hated this book. And you're just like, well, why'd you pick it up? Mm-hmm. Especially when they're like, oh, this book is fantasy. I don't like fantasy. Like I think David mentioned, I'm like, why did they get the book?
You'd be surprised how many times that happens.
I thought that as well, but it's a good thing that if people are looking at the reviews, they'll be like, they were in any doubt that it was a fantasy book. They'll be like, well, it's definitely a fantasy book then, because this person hates fantasy. So, but yeah, no, you're right. That's one of the things about getting yourself out there, is that like when you have written a book, like the book could be about anything. It could be like Ben's, which are like, about what his are about. It could be mine, which are kind of fantastical or horror or whatever it is. There's always something of yourself that you're putting in there anyway. There's some things that you just pluck out of nowhere, and it's something that you just like to write about. But there's always a degree of yourself going into these characters, or their experiences, or the way they react to things. And some things are deeply personal. It's the best way of rounding out characters is to draw on your own kind of fears and your own experiences to put them in there. So when people are reading your books, that they are reading a big part of you, that you've created it, and it's come from you. So like, once you kind of, I think once I started understanding that a lot more, I was kind of a lot more comfortable with, well, yeah, I should go out and talk about these things and do this and everything, because no matter what I do on one of these kind of things, it won't be as personal as someone picking up 500 pages of my work and reading through it cover to cover, because that is the most personal and the most way you can put yourself out there than anything else.
Mm-hmm. Anybody got anything else to add on that? All right, well, let's go ahead and tell everybody where we can find us. Courtney, we're going to start with you.
Okay. You can find me at this, I cannot do it, link in bio, or at canon.net. I am on almost every social media except for Snapchat, because we all know that I hate Snapchat. And I'm trying to do more on TikTok. It's hard to do with kids, but I'm trying to batch do some stuff. But you can find me on any social medias, on canon.net, on fiction-atlas.com. I would really love it if somebody would go and pick up this book, because I had so much fun writing this YA fantasy story. It is a YA fantasy adventure about two young people who are trying to find a grimoire, but it is inside a cursed library. And there's like booby traps. It's very Indiana Jones, Romancing the Stone, kind of really fun adventure. And I'm really proud of it. So I hope you guys will go check that out.
All right. And Ben?
You can find me on Facebook under Ben Rose. You can find me on Twitter under Sobriety Stories. If you want to know more about me, there's an article that's pinned under my name on Twitter. I did an interview with the magazine. Of the two books, I think that one right there is the better of the two. the long game. However, that one, Everybody But Us, is also considered pretty good by some. And so really, I'd love it if you'd buy my books. And hey, if you want to get in touch, as I said, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, I guess I'm on Instagram occasionally. Not a lot, but I'm out here. And if you read the books and you find you need the kind of help these characters need, definitely reach out to me, because I can hook you up with people that can help. Thanks.
And David?
Yeah, best place to find me is Linktr.ee/davidgreenwriter, and all of my places that I hang out on are on there, including my home address, which I realized recently is on my newsletter. So if you want to know, you can find me wherever the hell you want to.
I had the same problem, David. I had to switch it out. And you guys, I'm madilynndale, today's host. I'm also host of the show Character Driven that drops Wednesday, second episode. And you can find all of my books at my website, thechaptergoddess.com. I think I'm on like all social media right now. I am most active on Facebook and Twitter though. So if you want to like contact me, you can email me through my website or that, and sign up for my newsletter, which goes out every week. And Joe says, done, just bought Mom Boss. We are fixing to hear from the amazing, the wonderful Anita Stewart for the last 5 minutes. She's going to be sharing a bit of stuff with us. So here she goes.
Hi. I'm talking today not about my regular horror or fantasy books, but my two sort of stepchildren books, which is the nonfiction Planning Your Book. This one I'm going to talk about first. And basically, I wrote this because I have all these files for all my world building and my character sketches and everything, and it's all scattered, and I have a very hard time finding stuff when I need it. So I created this book so you can put all your stuff in one place. So I've got things like book summary and characters like the antagonist, protagonist, minor characters. And they've got things like hobbies, strengths, weaknesses, prejudices, fears. So you can fill this all in. So you have all the information but your characters in one handy place. And then I've got world building stuff that you can put notes on for kingdoms and territories and terrain, fauna, flora, technology, planetary systems if you're writing sci-fi, politics, religion, science, races, species, magic systems, all that sort of stuff. I got some spaces to do maps because I love maps. And you got a grid section there for maps if you want to do your map on a grid. And then I've got stuff for the plancers. I mean, not the plancers, but the pantsers too. So if you want to do a plot outline, if you're a planner, or if you just want to take notes, I've just got a little section for plot points there if you just want to take notes. So this book works for planners or for pantsers for writing down stuff. And then I've got the marketing notes section where you can put down your blurbs, and you can write like things that you want to put in your blurb and change it up. And section for taglines, and a section for the ever popular keywords that we all hate. And then I've got a section here for miscellaneous notes. So if I've forgotten anything in the previous thing, this was the encompassing thing. And then you've got, for people like me who do copious amounts of research, I've got a section for research notes. And then at the very back, I've got a daily writing planner and marketing calendar. So this doesn't have a year on it, so it can be used in any year. It's just all the months, so you can reuse it if you want. And basically, this book is good for multiple standalone books or series. So depending on what you want. And this is the print copy that you can buy on Amazon. And I also have a digital PDF version on my Ko-fi shop. So if you want to do a digital, if you want to have a print copy, it's good. So basically, that's my planning the book for writers. And now I'm going to be talking about my poor little poetry book that I wrote earlier this year, which is not my usual style of poetry. It's called Roses and Ashes, and it's basically a feminist poem book. It's about women's issues and feminist poems, sexist poems about sexism and things like that. So I'm going to read you 3 poems from that to end things off here. So here we go. This is called Alignment. Life under glass, filed away, safely organized by gender. Pre-programmed expectancies, mustn't try to break free. Pretty girls, proper women. Be the quiet marionette while society pulls the strings? No. This one's Enlightened Chastity. Uplifting reverence of purity, aspirations of a saintly relic, virgin child manipulation, exploitation in disguise, untouchable, abstinence, ideal, restraint, impositions of a patriarchy on a subjugated gender, maidenhood objectified into sanctified delusion. And this one is called Crone. Wisdom, fate, death, behind the venerable veil, threads importance, spinning life with the final cut, and a shadow of your demise, those goddesses and grandmothers giving a smile. And that's a little excerpt from my poetry book, Roses and Ashes. And I hope you enjoyed the look at these 2 books. And you can find me at afstewart.ca. And remember, it's always time to go indie now.